we actually stay very demotivated that we can't do that. But when we see your LinkedIn profile, we see you, we actually are we get very highly motivated. So you're welcome and thank you so much for coming. And sorry to everyone for that long wait. There were some technical glitches. So Bhaiya, you can start. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for the quick intro, Ayush. But before I go ahead and start, delivering what do you call not so interesting lecture, can you give me a brief overview of what exactly does the GDG does and how it is? So
Okay.
let's say,
Actually, it was introduced just after you passed out. It
okay,
came in our college just after you passed out. It is the fourth session, fourth or fifth tenure of the GDG. Google, even it's a brief introduction for all of you along with Bhaiya. GDG on campus IM, it was previously GDSC, Google Developer Student Clubs. So Google had kept a student like GDG on campus IM, student community in every college. They host events. They have formed a tech community. They select their leads of the different college by a long interview session after many rounds, and they commit some events. They have some events from their sites like cloud study jams, where cloud study jams, gen AI study jams. Right now solution challenge is going where we are participating, in which the it is a global hackathon. People are participating all over the India. And also the gen AI study jams was there, where people got some 300 credits on Google Cloud, and they were asked to complete some challenges. They could use some credits for themselves as well. So these are the advantage, and it's up to the lead after those events of 4 or 5 events. It's up to the lead or up to the community what they want to have. So as a tech community, we host events like these: guide to placement, guide to different tech stacks, cybersecurity, ML, AI. We have sessions around that from our seniors, alumni, industry experts, and also for different everything which can be for the career beneficial for the students in the college.
I see. Sounds so interesting, but sounds so complex as well. I, I haven't heard about so many events and so many things being done during the days I was in college. So it does sound like a privilege for folks who are part of the GDG. So awesome, man. Kudos to the efforts that you are making to make IEM a better place. So talking about college, right? By the way, how are you enjoying? How are you folks enjoying college? Or maybe shall I call it a school?
That's whenever we come in first and second year, ultimately leading ending up to the college, we start feeling like no, it's our college at the end. The advantage and disadvantage are there. The campus will not be there. It has some advantage over some other college, and obviously some disadvantage over there also. The location will be a factor.
I do agree with that.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, first year definitely felt like very weird coming from an open background and a school that follows open culture. I felt very weird in the college, but gradually it went towards the right path. So let's start with the college part, right, where we actually start our journey for career, I would say. So in first year, right, I was overwhelmed to see so many subjects. In fact, computer science was something. By the way, I was from computer science batch, but that was something very new to me. What I used to do I think I had computer first in class 11, and what I used to do was memorize code in C, and I would just vomit it in exam papers, and that's how it went. Right. So when I came to college, I had no idea about what computer science is, what engineering as a whole means, and I was just trying to find out clubs, especially cultural clubs, where I can spend most of my time, uh, you know, playing, singing, or doing cultural activities. That's where I was more interested in. But eventually, meeting people from different backgrounds actually helped me understand what coding is. And that's when I got introduced to this not so exciting but looks cool thing which is called competitive coding, right? That's where I got to know about, okay, there's something called as data structure, and that sounds interesting. So that's where my coding journey began, and that's where the actual start of my career happened. And I believe that's mostly in late first year or initial days of my second year. And from there onwards, I think um, my career started to take a shape. And like, by the way, from what year are the members of GDG, Ayush?
Every year, first year, second year, third year, and maybe some fourth year will be there, but mostly our first year and third year, second year.
हाँ, फोर्थ ईयर्स को समय ही कहाँ मिलता है, so it makes sense. uh, always, I mean, all right, so that's not a problem. So for first years who are here, and if you don't have any idea where you have ended up being, uh, just hold your horses. It's not so over yet. You have too many things coming towards you at place. But by the way, talking about IEM a little bit, right? If you look at the alumni pool, I would say, I think not most of, but quite a few of my batchmates have already joined Google. So I'm not the only one who's part of Google. A few of my juniors have ended up in Microsoft. Few of them in Amazon, and quite a few in Goldman Sachs, Rubrics, which are considered to be the top tech companies out there across the globe. So by this statement, I mean to say that just trust the process. You have ended up in a good place, and you'll eventually sell through. So, but take the opportunities that comes your way, and there will be times where college will throw opportunities to you. You just have to grab that and convert it into a reality, right? So I think this is mostly about interview preparation or placement guide, right? So without wasting further time, let's jump into the actual part here. So that's majorly three steps, right? If you are able to see my screen,
Yes, it is visible.
by the way. Okay, awesome. So three stages, right? First is resume building. Then interview preparation. And then the third part, which is actually when you sit in the interview, what actually do you do? So what really happens in an interview, right? So what shall I call it? uh, Maybe let's say the actual D-Day, right? So let's start with resume building. By the way, this includes your profile building as well. When I say profile building, I mean the LinkedIn profile or any other profile that you use for job hunting, right? So talking about resume, so being a fresh grad, I don't think a lot of you will have enough experience or enough space in your resume might not go into experience. So where what matters most for fresh grads is definitely CGPAs. And the reason I write it in first is because it is definitely important. Okay, don't think that you'll do DSA, bypass your course curriculum, and get a good company, but it will hurt you in the long run for sure. Okay, so don't ignore your college studies. That's really important. That's truly important. Okay, so I'll talk about it as I go into each of these items. So CGPA, that's one important thing. Then comes your skills. This is something that you must highlight. Then the third thing is, of course, if you have any internship experience or any experience that you might have, any industry experience, feel free to call that out. The fourth one is definitely your achievements. And if you have completed any coursework, feel free to include that as well. So these are the 5 major components that would be part of your resume as a fresh grad. Now, why CGPA is important, right? So if you think through, right, how placements happen in college, or especially when I say specifically about on-campus placements, right? So imagine how many students are there in your batch, maybe 1,000, right? But let's say Amazon comes to interview at your particular college and they have 20 vacant positions, let's say. 20 is a very big number, by the way. Now, the first level of filtering that happens as you go from 1,000 to 20 is based on CGPA, right? That's sad, but that's the truth. So CGPA is something that you definitely should not ignore, right? Let's say they would select top 600 students out of 1,000, right? And then you go through a coding challenge, right, which is called as online assessment. And out of this online assessment, they would filter about 100 students, maybe even less than that, 50, right? Maybe even less than 600, maybe 50, right? And with that online assessment filtering, now that you have 50 folks in place, what's the next thing that happens here? Now you sit for face-to-face rounds. You sit for face-to-face rounds where a person, a member of the Amazon team, who's already an employee of the company, will judge your skills by asking questions out of data structures and algorithms, or maybe your core subjects that you have studied as part of your BTech course, right? So from there, this would filter and come out to, let's say, 30. And then out of this 30, then you will have some behavioral rounds, and this would eliminate the last 10 folks and make the number 20, right? So OA, that's part of the interview, right? Then there's a F2F round. Okay, sorry, CGPA. That's the first level of filtering. Then OA, then F2F, then behavioral, right? So these are your key goals. This is what you have to ace as part of your preparation, right? Now, even before that, right? Let's say you're going off campus. What happens in that case? You share your resume or your profile, right? You share your resume and profile, and that's where it gets shortlisted, right? So that's the first level of filtering. The first level of filtering is based on automated some automated filtering system called as ATS, right? What happens next when you submit a resume to a company? The HR recruiter actually scans through your resume manually, right? And sees whether your profile is relevant to the job you're applying. Then the third step when you submit a resume for a job is the hiring manager, right, who actually is doing the hiring, goes through your resume to understand your fitness with their current team or current work. And then you're called for an interview, right? Now, the essence of saying this is your resume has to pass through 3 filters, and after that, you're going to get an interview call, right? So, that being said, what you need to make sure is your resume has the most relevant skills that the job description asks for. Let's say the job is asking about Java skills, right? The job is, I mean, you have to code in Java once you get into the role, right? So you have to highlight, if you are already proficient in Java, you have to highlight that in your resume, right? If it is a data science role, make sure you're putting terms like Python, TensorFlow, and whatnot, PyTorch and whatnot, right? So make sure that your resume matches very closely with the skills relevant to that job description. Now, why I say this? In fact, you can actually pick up words from the job description and put it in your resume. Now, why do I say this? So the ATS, right? This is a automated system. So what it simply does is a string matching, right? If I try to again simplify my words, it will basically match the words in your resume with the words in the job description. So the maximum match means your resume will pass through the first step. So that's the first step, right? You have to include relevant words in your resume that matches very well with the job description, right? The better it matches, better are your chances of getting selected or filtered through the first round. Now that you've cleared the ATS, by the way, that being said, when you have different job descriptions or when you are applying for different positions, don't hesitate to alter your resume according to what the job needs, right? So you might have one resume for position P1 in Amazon, for position P2 in Google, you might have a different version of your resume, highlighting the ones which are more relevant to that job. And that's absolutely fine. And that's what is, I think I will strongly recommend. Okay. Now, is the next step. So once you have relevant skills and it passes through the ATS, let's say you've passed this. Next comes the HR recruiter. Now, what will the HR recruiter look for? The HR recruiter will try to assess your level of skills. So while ATS understood that you have the relevant skills, the HR recruiter will try to understand to what extent are you proficient in those skills, right? That being said, what the HR recruiter will look for is, have you implemented any project with a skill that you have mentioned in your resume, right? Did you, let's say, whether you're building a library management system or if you're building a recommendation system based on ML, right? Include all the important projects. If you have enough space, include all of them. If you have not, you don't have enough place, include those which are more relevant to the job description, right? So include those and show your proficiency in that particular skill that you have mentioned, right? If you have internship experience or if you have experience working with some of the players in the industry, try to highlight that and also mention exactly what did you work on in that particular company, right? And what skills were used and leveraged in those particular company. So internship is better and beneficial to have because that shows the recruiter that you have in relevant industry experience already. But again, that's not an absolute mandate. Even if you don't have any industry experience, you can still get the job. Okay, so don't hesitate to put out your project works and highlight them in case you don't, if you don't have any industry experience. So here the priority would be show experience if you have it already. If you don't have it, and even if you have it, definitely show off your projects. So this explains your level of expertise in the skills. Now let's say you're able to show that. Then comes the third stage where the hiring manager takes a look at your resume. Now, what the hiring manager is interested in is, of course, skills, experience, and projects. And along with that, the hiring manager also focuses on what is the outcome, right? You build a project, but what is the benefits out of it? What exactly did you achieve, right? Let's say you did some innovative project, but what's the effect on the society? Now it doesn't have to be something very big that changes the whole society, but even if it has very small impact towards the society, or even if it has very small impact to some area which is not very well known or it's very uncharted, so feel free to highlight that, and that's where uh, you know you get attention of the hiring manager. And let me tell you, this is the most difficult step of scrutiny, right? So if the hiring manager has 5 candidates and all of them has the same level of skills and same proficiency in each of the skills, the hiring manager would pick that candidate up who has mentioned the outcomes very clearly, right? Because what the hiring manager also looks for is what is the engineer thinking, what is their goal in mind before trying to take up a project, what is the impact. So that is very important when it comes to resume. So make sure you mention that as well. By the way, I'll give you an example of resume. So I think that will clear your doubts further. All right. Now, that being said, skill, experience. So, with this, I covered skill and experience. Now, achievements. If you are participating in any coding competitions or hackathons, or you're part of so many activities, right? Like Ayush mentioned in the beginning of the sessions, right? So, you can definitely take part in those and definitely highlight your achievements, right? If you have won any hackathon, if you have been in the top five, or let's say if you have participated in code forces or lead code or code chef coding competitions and achieved a rank which is below 100, feel free to highlight that. um, and yes, do include your achievements in academic field as well. If you are, let's say, a topper of the batch, feel free to highlight that. That definitely draws attention. And then from coursework perspective, I know being in college, you attend a lot of courses in terms of, I think I remember in my time there used to be something called as NPTEL. I don't know if this is followed still, but
Follow.
what it is followed, right?
Yes, Bhaiya, it is followed.
Awesome. So if you have completed any NPTEL course, feel free to include that. And then if you have attended, so deeplearning.ai was also being provided, right? I think Coursera, uh,
Coursera is provided.
right? Coursera is provided as part of your student profile in
Yes.
IEM, as far as I know. So do courses from there and include that in your resume as well. So that also uplifts the value of your resume, right? So that's about the first part, folks. That's about resume building. I'll go to the LinkedIn profile part shortly, but before that, I would like to take up questions. If you have any, feel free to let me know.
Guys, whatever questions you have, kindly ask up to this mark. The topic will change and it will be irrelevant sometimes. So, related to the topic, if you have any questions, you can ask.
By the way, folks, if this sounds very monotonous, just let me know. I can try and change the way we are discussing things. I just don't want to, just don't want you to sit here and listen to some boring lecture. Just let me know that if it sounds too boring, we can skip this and talk about each other's lives. And that's also fine, as long as it adds value to your evening.
Different stream, but I am aiming right. My question has come.
What if I have a different stream, but I'm aiming for IT? Will the resume look the same for me as well? So Virup, right? If you think about it, um, so it's more of your goal, right? If your goal is getting a role in IT, you can build your resume that way. Now, building your resume doesn't mean only writing stuff in a white paper. You should follow courses those that are required for IT roles. Maybe you can do data science, which is pretty popular these days, especially those those LLMs and all those chat GPT things. Feel free to do that if that aligns well with your goal, right? So if you're part of a different stream, but if you still want to do a computer science job, try to get relevant skills and then put that in your resume. So your resume should be based on your goal, your dream role, but not based on your current batch. So if you're aiming for an IT role, get the relevant skills, build your resume that way, shape yourself, and then you can definitely apply for it. Does that answer your question, by the way? Feel free to ask any follow up question if you have. For Moinak, are NPTEL courses important? Any course is important as long as it adds value, right? So if you have better platforms where you can show you have gone through enough courses, feel free to highlight that. But if NPTEL is the best you have got in your profile, feel free to highlight that. Any course that you go through is important and it should be highlighted. That's what I believe. But yeah, I think one word answer to your question is yes. How could we make projects after learning any programming language? Chori kar lo. I think that's the first step. So look at what others have, others, I mean, how others are making use of the language that you have learned, what other people are making projects on. Simply copy their projects. Now, once you have copied their projects, you know how to put that language to use. Now that you have proficiency in the language and you're ready to and capable to build a project, now think about your own idea. That's the way to go, right? Nobody knows, nobody comes with an interesting intrinsic knowledge of converting the code or converting a language into your idea. So the first step would be to how to build a project. For that, you can follow others project and copy it. Next, you get your own idea and build your own project. That's how we did during our times. But if you already have an idea, feel free to implement that. If we participate in a hackathon, build project but not get any position, yes, yes. If you don't have any better things, include whatever you can, whatever adds value to your resume, right? So if you are participating in a hackathon and if you have built a project, you can include that in the project section. Okay. If that's not an achievement, feel free to include it in the project section. For internship, do only the offline internships matter or even the online internship like AICTE? Prodigy scams, real online internships. So even if you're doing online internships, that's also valid. By the way, is there any background noise from my end, folks?
No problem.
Uh, Let me put on my headphones. Just give me a moment.
How much CP is required? How much DSC is needed considering the changing scenarios nowadays? Many jobs you have to get.
All right, is this any better?
Yes, but it's fine.
All right. Yeah, so both offline and online internships do matter as long as you're building valuable projects and that enhances your skills. So feel free to include that in your resume. And if I had been in your place, I would have definitely included those. All right, Orko. I'm a first year student. I have completed Python programming language, but want to build project. Oh yeah, I think I already answered
Yeah,
your
you
question.
answered it. Hmm.
But yeah, feel free to ask a follow-up question if that doesn't help you. How much CGPA is safe for getting shortlisted in the first round? That's a very vague question, to be honest, because it's more of a relative term. Like I told you, right? Let's say you have 1,000 students, but the company which is coming for placement has only 20 vacancies. So then the competition is really going to be tough, which means the CGPA threshold will be very high. Okay, it can be up to 9 as well. But if the company is coming for kind of mass recruitment, then you can expect the CGPA to be at a much lower range, maybe 7. But if you target 7, I mean, if you're targeting anything, don't target anything less than 7. That's definitely not something I would suggest. If you're targeting anything, look for a number which is greater than 7. Okay. Does doing any boot camps make the resume better? Anything that adds value is better. Anything that shows your proficiency in the skill which is relevant to the job description adds value. Do include it. It's important. How much CP is required? By the way, did I miss any question?
Actually, a question is from our follow up. He asked the question about having this different stream.
Hmm.
So he said that I feel like I'm lacking some guidance and have to do most of the thing on my own. So I thought I should be asked. I should ask. Recently, I've started participating. So he's from mechanical department actually, and he had just started getting interested in these things. Yeah.
I see. I see. Yeah. Don't hesitate to follow your passions. Given there will be obstacles in your way, but don't hesitate to take on the challenge. What is the score? What is the ATS score we need to have? ATS score. Okay, ATS is just a systematic thing that varies company to company, right? Now, I cannot say what is an ATS score, and the ATS score actually varies from company to company. Every company has their own threshold, so nobody has idea about what ATS score is and what should be the ideal ATS score for you, and that remains abstracted from the applicant, by the way.
Sumit had asked how much CP is required and how much DSA is needed considering the changing scenarios nowadays.
CP is not required, in my opinion. So if you do enough lit code and gigs for geeks and all those platforms out there, you're good to go through. Uh, but if you want to become master at it, you may try out CP. It's interesting, but if you don't find interest in it, feel free to skip it. That's not absolute necessity. Okay. So that's again a one sentence answer.
Most of the questions are now from like internship. Internships were like mini jobs we have to get selected. So how do we do that? Does having the courses mentioned there enough, or there's some cache? Basically, how to get it internship.
Okay, internship. So I think there are two ways on campus. uh, if the college provides internship, and I know the college does provide internships uh, across different companies, so you can target those. You can keep connections with your professors to know if any company is coming for recruiting. Express your interest and then sit for it and try to clear the rounds. And internship interview rounds are not that difficult. They'll ask mostly basic questions, so I strongly suggest you to go that way as the first choice. Second option is, if you have any known ones in companies out there, feel free to let them know that you want to do an internship, and if there are any open positions, ask them to refer you. And that's a way through which you can actually get the thing done, because referral is a very what should I say, referral is very is something very highlighted, right? So if you have for a job description 1,000 applicants but 5 referrals, the referred candidates are always posed higher, right, compared to the general applicants. So I would say go for a referral if you know someone who's already working in a company that you are willing to do the internship in.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Actually, in the session you will be covering these things already, like resume building, interview preparation in detail.
All right, yes.
Taking specific questions, it's just like repeating the same. So we
Okay,
can
how does
start.
referral work? Okay. Okay, yeah. I think let's move on to the next section, and then maybe we can take up more questions in the meantime.
Yes.
So, just to give you an example of the resume, let me see if I have my own. But I don't know if that will be of much help, given given my resume is not like someone who's freshly graduated from college, but I'll still try to explain by leaving out the experience part. Mhm. All right. Okay. Let me know if you are able to see this.
Yes, that is visible.
All right, cool. So, talking about this, right? Like I mentioned, CGPA or academics is something that I mentioned right at the top corner. Now, sorry, yes, the top left corner. But see, this is I take minimum space for this, right? Because I now have enough years of experience and I have more important items to put in the resume, right? So this is my experience part, and that covers the most of my resume. But for you, right, experience might not be the major contributor, so you can take more space and elaborate more on your CGPA, on your academics and scores, and you can take more space for it. So include profile links, include links to your GitHub. So by the way, yes, I forgot to tell this. If you're making any project, do upload this in GitHub. Don't keep it in local. Okay, upload this in GitHub and attach your GitHub profile so that it has so that the hiring manager can actually go to your GitHub and see your merge requests or the code submissions that you're making. Include your LinkedIn profiles, include your lead code or any coding platform that you use, so that again the hiring manager can understand your proficiency in each of these related skills. Talking about coursework, like I mentioned, if you're doing any coursework, do include it in the resume. Now, talking about priority, right? What will you prioritize? That depends on the job description. If it is more of an ML related job description, feel free to put the machine learning at the top, and you can mention the organization from where you did the course as well. If you think it adds value from the company's perspective, right? But again, like I mentioned, my for specifically me, experience is what takes the most of the space. So to cut short in terms of space, I couldn't include from which organization did I do the coursework, but you have that flexibility to do that, right? Now skills, you can divide this into categories where you explain the programming languages, then if you know any cloud frameworks, feel free to include that. If you know any app development or backend or front end frameworks, feel free to include those as well. Highlight if you have worked with any databases and if you have proficiencies in those. And basically in different categories, you can define your skills in different categories and then include them, right? The reason I try to keep this section very populated is I don't have to change it again and again with job descriptions, because you see, even if it's a ML role, I have Python and Jupyter Notebook and all those TensorFlow, PyTorch included. So it will go with an ML role. If I am looking for backend development, see, I have Java, I have Spring Boot, I have MySQL, Elasticsearch included. So it will go with that as well. Even if I look for a front end role or Android role, I have Android development included. I have other libraries that we use in Android also included as part of my skills. So yes, you can do these tricks so that you have to put less effort when you try to change your resume from one company or one position to another, right? Now, talking about experience, do include if you have any internship experiences. Achievements, so these are something that I've included on my own. If I've participated in any coding competitions, I would take a screenshot of the certificate and I would list that in my achievement section. Then if I have completed, if I have a certain rank in the coding platform, I would include that as well. Uh, then if I'm taking any coursework and I'm giving the exam corresponding to it, and if my marks are good, I would include that in achievement section as well. So whatever you think sets you apart from the rest of the crowd, do mention it in the achievement section. And in the experience section, like I mentioned, if you have experience in if you have internship experience or any industry experience, feel free to include that. And also mention what skills, what was the project you built, what skills did it include, and what impact did it have. All three items are important over here. The part that I have to completely remove out of my resume because of the lack of space is projects, right? So do include projects. Every goddamn project that you are implementing is important. So sort them in the decreasing order of priority, and put the most important one that you feel at the top, then the next one. So you should have at least 2 to 3 projects in your resume. And when I say 2 to 3, they have to be strong projects. Okay, not like random stuff like building calculator and all the stuff. Something meaningful, something that has some impact at least. Okay, so that's resume, folks. Now talking about profile, right? So do build your LinkedIn profile. That's important, because I mean, that's the most known platform where you get calls from companies, right? Or recruiters, you receive messages from recruiters. So the first thing that you see here is profile picture. You all should definitely have a profile picture. Profile without a picture is valueless, in my opinion. So make yourself visible. And then the next important part is the tagline, right? So I would strongly suggest putting your skills out here, right? You can put your positions out here, which is fine, but do also include the main skills, the primary skills that you want to focus on, and you're trying to find a job at this point in time. So if you highlight the skill, so let me tell you how the algorithm works. If you're What a recruiter does is, let's say the recruiter searches with tell me. So let's say the recruiter searches with Java, right? And they would look for what all people are proficient in Java, right? Now, if I have Java written in my first, in this section, definitely my profile would rank higher. Okay, so do include your skills in the first line itself. Then definitely include, so if you have any achievement, and if you have any proof for that, do include it in the featured section. That's important. That shows how you stand out of the crowd. uh, you know if you have interest regarding a particular domain, feel free to call that out in your about section, so that whenever a recruiter visits your profile, they can know what you're interested in and what roles you're looking for. And then if they are kind of match, the recruiter will be more than happy to contact you in DM. Talking about experience, do include every goddamn experience you have. If you have been part of any internship for any company, do include that. And that doesn't mean that you would simply name the company, tell your position, and tell the duration. It also includes explaining what all projects you did as part of that role, what were the relevant skills that you used there, right? So that actually gives the recruiter or the hiring manager an idea about what all domains you have worked on previously, right? If the domains also match, then again there's a high chance that you get through it. Talking about education, do include as much detail as possible if those are worth showing, right? If you have got good grades, try to show that off. If you're talking about license and certification, or if you're doing any courses, feel free to call that out. Okay, if you have proofs of it like passing certificate, do attach it, get that verified, right? And skills, right? Mention all the skills that you have proficiency in and try to get what do you call this, endorsements, right? Try to get endorsements from your peers. If you are attending any internship, ask your mentor or ask your team lead to give you endorsement on a particular skill that you have worked on during the course of that role, right? Recommendations, I don't think I'll talk about right at this point in time. That's not something I'll talk about at such an early stage. But how recommendations work is, if you have worked in a particular company, and when you are leaving that, you ask your teammates or you ask your team lead to write a review about you, okay, and how they recommend you to other companies. So that's also important. That also highlights your proficiency. If you have any publications, if you have done any courses, feel free to include that. If you have honors and awards, if you have some test courses, feel free to include every goddamn thing, right? That makes your profile very rich. Now, I last updated this, I think, 3 years back, but see, it still looks decent, right? So keep updating your profile and try to include the granular details as much as possible. Okay, this is not a one-day job. It will take you a week to prepare your profile, but work on it right at this point in time. Okay, it will help you in the long run. Keep adding minimal achievements that you get, minimal information that you have on your profile. Feel free to include them all, and it definitely will help you in the long run. All right, we'll stop for questions now, and then we'll talk briefly about the interview process.
Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask regarding the resume, internships, anything. Bhaiya, you passed out in 2020,
I passed out in 2020, right?
and then you were placed in Rebecca Technologies.
Actually, I started doing internship in Rebecca while I was in third year, so which is 2019.
Hmm.
And after a year of internship in 2020, that got converted to a full-time role. I stayed there for 11 months, almost a year. I mean, as a full-time engineer, I was there for about a year. And post that, that COVID thing happened, right? So with COVID, we had a, I would say, we had a lot of opportunity. We don't have to travel to office. We would get lot of free time, and in that I started reading DSA. In that time frame, I started taking DSA very seriously, and I think that helped get me better companies, or at least have the courage to apply for good companies out there. Okay, or when I say good, I talk about companies that pay well. Okay, so good doesn't mean that work is good here, work is bad there. Not in terms of what, but companies that pay top notch when it comes to the market. So yes.
No questions as of now.
Okay, I think there's one question. Any good template to use for resume? Um, Devaditto Das, DD. In fact, my resume is built on top of that. You can use the DD. So I'll ping it in the chat. DDCD. Use this. By the way, for this you need to know LaTeX. LaTeX is a language in which you write papers or publications. But it's not very hard. It's tag-like language. If you know HTML, you'll be able to know LaTeX very easily. Okay, so you can use this template, and that has worked so far for me. All right. So next part, let me share again. So I talked about resume building, profile, and now I'll talk briefly about interview preparation. So this is pretty straightforward, right? For interview, mm, there are two items. The first one is definitely the data structure and algorithms, the nightmare, right? And then computer basics. By the way, again, I'm talking about IT jobs here. So not very aware of how core stream jobs work, but this is how IT or computer science jobs work, or software jobs work to be more specific. Then there is something called low level design or LLD, and then there's something called as high level design, right? Now this couple of things were enough pain. With that, two more items got added. Now I'll tell you what is absolute necessary. This is absolute necessary. You will definitely need this. Computer basics. This is optional. Some companies do ask questions from computer basics, some companies don't. But to be safe, I would suggest you to have some basic concepts ready on three different subjects. You will have only three subjects here, right? What are the three subjects? DBMS, OS, computer networks. So just do basic study on DBMS. What can you study? Water tables, water normalizations. Again, this might sound a bit off the track, but just to give a high level idea, do study these three subjects on a high level. Look at what could be possible rapid fire interview questions against these topics and do prepare them well. Okay. So that's one part. DSA is absolute necessary, right? DSA will definitely be asked DSA. So I'll go to the topics of what are the topics that you can learn in DSA. By the way, is everyone aware of what DSA is? Or
Yes, everyone.
sorry,
Everyone is aware of you.
everyone is aware. First year folks, do you find it terrifying, or should I go ahead deep into it, or do you want me to stall here?
From the
So
very from the admission only, they start asking, "Bhaiya DSA कैसे करें?"
अच्छा.
Mm.
Awesome, man. I'm glad that you're aware of these things because during my time, I did not know what is DSA. So under DSA, there are topics like arrays. ये तो करना ही है. Then there is linked list. करना ही है. Tree. करना ही है. Graph. Right. Then there are programming paradigms like recursion. Right? These are the data structures. Right. Now coming to programming paradigms or algorithms, there's recursion, there's backtracking, right? There's two-pointer approach, there's sliding window approach, and there's, by the way, a couple of more data structure I missed is stack and queue. Stack and queue, heap, backtracking, recursion, two-pointer, sliding window. What else? Sorting, searching. Okay. Okay, there's one more data structure here. Try. That's pretty much it. And then the final showstopper, DP. So talking about DP, I'm still fearful about this particular topic. Okay, तो ये सुनकर मेरे पैर कांपने लगते हैं. Dynamic programming, but it is what it is. You have to learn this if you are looking for job at a good company, right? So these are the topics you should cover. Now if you ask me, okay, which topic is important, which one should I go for, and which one has a higher priority, which one has a lower priority. That's a hell lot of discussion, and that's more debatable. But this is the superset of all the topics that you should learn as part of DSA. But I'll focus more on the strategy. How do you learn this, right? What are the ways that you learn this? Take one topic, right? Choose any one topic. Of course, let's start with the easiest one, which is arrays, right? Now, study the theory part of it. Now, for theory part, you can take up online videos. Right? You can look at online videos. You can try GFG, Gigs for Gigs, or you can try out any other goddamn platform out there. Okay, how I used to do is I used to do GFG, and if I get stuck at some point in time, I would take help of YouTube videos. Now, once you have a good grip over the theory, then start solving problems. Don't directly jump to start solving problems without learning at least a little bit of theory. So, when you go to problem solving now, follow a 4:1 strategy, right? Solve 4 easy problems, 4 medium level problems, and solve 1 hard problem for a particular topic, right? So for a particular topic, you do this for 3 days. If that's not enough, do it for 5 days. If you feel you're still weak, do it for 7 days. So 1 week, 1 topic. Now once you've covered 1 topic, go for the next topic. Before doing that, on the last day of the week, revise all the concepts that you have learned corresponding to that topic, because there's so much to cover in DSA, right? You'll keep forgetting things. So whatever you are learning, keep revising them at regular intervals. That's very, very important, and revision should be part and parcel of your interview study strategy, right? So make sure you're revising well beyond you're learning well. So after you have learned, after you have 3-4 topics, try to practice miscellaneous problems on those 3 topics, which means try to solve problems that includes 3-4 topics together. Let's say you can solve a problem that includes stack, that includes, let's say, stack, that includes queue or graph, all of them together. Okay, so 3 topics together, and those are called as miscellaneous problems. So if you have covered 4 to 5 topics and you're enough confident in it, try to solve a single problem that involves concepts from multiple topics. And then after covering, let's say, 6 to 7 topics, start taking part into competitions. Competition doesn't mean the Code Chef or Code Forces competitions. There's weekly and bi-weekly competitions as well in lead code. Okay, there the standard is not very high like Code Forces or Code Chef. So you can treat these as mock interviews. You can treat these as mock DSA interviews, and this, because in this contest, right, you will get a time-bound way of solving problem statements, which is very similar to what happens in interviews, right? So I strongly suggest attempting this. If you are able to solve 3 out of 4 questions, rest assured you are ready for interview. Okay, if you are able to solve 3 out of 4 questions, you are now ready for interview, and start giving interviews. You may pass or you may not, but you can start taking attempts from now. As you take more attempts, you understand the process more, you understand the kind of nerve that you need during interviews, the kind of attitude that you need to keep during interviews, what are the general questions that interviewers ask, right? So basically all the know-hows for interviews you will get to know once you start attempting those. And when do you start attempting those? When you are consistently solving 3 out of 4 problems in weekly or bi-weekly contests in lead code. Okay, but that doesn't mean you will stop learning more topics. Cover all of this. You have to cover all of this if you want 100% chance or 100% probability of getting selected. You might not go to the most difficult part, but having basic knowledge of each of these topics is very important. Okay, so that being said, that's about interview preparation. Now talking about LLD and HLD. HLD is something that you can completely skip. There are some companies, some super difficult companies that does ask HLD questions to fresh graduates, but I don't think that's something you should try out at this point in time, unless you have intrinsic interest, right? So this is about how you design software architectures. But LLD is asked in some companies. Some companies do have a particular round called as machine coding round. So what is LLD basically? Your code organization or code structure. So this is basically OOPS or object oriented programming. Object oriented programming. How do you design your classes? So this includes class design. How are your classes related towards each other? So class relations, is it an aggregation, or is it a composition, is it an inheritance, or is it an abstraction, right? So this is based on OOPS concept. So there's something called as design patterns. Okay, design patterns. This will give you idea about what LLD is. But for second year, third year folks, this is something too early to start for. For fourth year folks, you can start learning design patterns after you have enough knowledge about OOPS. But now again, why am I explaining this? So this is your North Star, right? This is something that you're hearing this and you register this in your mind. But you act upon it upon you reach the right time. When you go to fourth year, you will remember that some day on a fine evening, somebody said that OOPS and design patterns and LLD is important for interviews. If that strikes your mind during the right time when you're just before placements, you'll open that thing up and you will start studying this, and that will help you in your final interviews. Okay, I know it's an information overload for all of you, right? You don't even need to remember all of these what I'm saying, but remember these key terms, and when upon the arrival of right time, you will realize that these are important. Okay, but just remember these key terms, that will help you in the long run. Okay, so that's how you do interview preparation, folks. That's how you cover the different cohorts in preparation. Talking about the basics, that is completely your academics oriented. Whatever you will learn as part of your uh, you know your semester course, that is more than enough to cover interview questions. But yeah, you can go online, search random interview questions out of these topics, and you can practice those. That's more than enough. You just need to know the basics. Okay, so I would stop here and check for questions.
May can you brief a bit about system design, importance of system design?
Oh yeah, HLD is system design to be specific. But again, if you want me to brief about that, by the way, system design is of two types: low-level system design and high-level system design. So, like I said, LLD is about how you structure your classes. And let's say you're building a school or college administration system, right? Now, in your college administration system, what can be your entities? The student is an entity, right? Then stream is an entity. A stream will be a class. A student will be related to a class. A student will be related to a stream. Then there are professors. Professors will be associated with certain sections of a particular stream, right? So these are individual entities, or these are individual classes. Now let's say tomorrow you have to build a system where you can take admissions for new students, or you can recruit teachers or professors to teach those students, right? How does the system work? What will be your class design? What will be the functionality that you provide, right? So these, how do you organize your classes and how do they relate to each other? That's more low level design, class design, your code design to be more specific. If you talk about HLD, right, the question comes, if you're trying to build a college administration system, what is the type of database you are going to use? Are you going to use a SQL database, or are you going to use MongoDB or Cassandra or something like some search engine like Elasticsearch, right?
Then comes the question, are you going to write the code in Java, are you going to write it in Python, or are you going to write it in C++, right? So these are design choices based on your functional and non-functional requirements. Now, what is functional requirements? So one functional requirement is you should be able to admit a new student. You should be able to recruit a new professor. Right? So these are requirements. To support those requirements, you will have to make choices of database, uh, choices of language, choices of what will be the components in your software. So it's all about how the high level architecture of your college administrative system software look like, right? So you have IEM CRP, right? If I remember it correctly. So what you see is a website, but there's a huge backend design behind it, right? There are some databases where the student data is stored, right? Then what you see is only the front end side of it, the website, which is HTML, CSS, right? But where does the data lie? It stays in some database in cloud, right? And then how does the front end interact with that database, right? What are the components behind? How does it do authentication when you enter username and password? How does it identify that you're a valid user, right? So there's a huge backend system that does that. So this design of what all systems will be there and how will they interact with each other based on each of these UJs. CUJ is, let's say, logging in, viewing the score, paying the fees, right? So each of this journey, user journey, is what I mean by CUJ. And for each of this action, how does the system react? That's what is HLD. And I believe you're too young to get into this. At least this is not something for a fresh graduate. But yes, code structure is something that is definitely asked in some companies. In fact, Swiggy has a machine coding round, my bad. And in that, LLD is definitely asked. So once you have learned OOPS or Java classes, try to read a little bit up about object-oriented design and design patterns. That will help you gain some idea about what is LLD and how to solve LLD questions during interviews.
Thank you. Any questions for aptitude? Is general knowledge enough for it, or it requires specific preparation?
हाँ यार, ये TCS वाले करते तो हैं aptitude के questions. So in fact, if you heard about this company Goldman Sachs, that also do ask questions from aptitude. तो aptitude में क्या है? So there's does Taposh sir still take classes?
Yes, he does. Number
That's
of
more
classes
than
in a
enough.
week was reduced.
I think that's more than enough. He's a better person to answer that question than me. In fact, I have learned from him. I've learned from what are the books that I should follow to get aptitude done, and in my opinion, that's more than enough. And I think that's top notch. What Taposh sir teaches is top notch. Top notch.
Maybe.
If you go through that, you'll definitely be able to crack the aptitude part of companies like GS for sure.
भैया आपने तो first you got into Rebecca Technologies after the graduation. Then you prepared for DSA and shifted to companies like Swiggy, Google, being product-based companies. This is a particular journey. And considering it's not the COVID time, if a student currently in the second year, third year, he might think that getting the off-campus as a fresher might be difficult. So there seems two options for him or her. या तो वो किसी कंपनी में प्लेस हो जाए ग्रेजुएट एंड देन स्विच करके more preparation करके you may get place into big companies, product based companies, जैसे आपने किया, जो क्रैक गेट एंड देन फिर वहां से प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड कंपनी का जर्नी. सो नंबर ऑफ इयर्स माइट बी डिफरेंट. सो ये वो किस तरह से डिसाइड करे इंसान?
यार ये तो तुमने गलत क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया. आई एम नॉट द राइट पर्सन टू आंसर दैट बिकॉज it was definitely never my cup of tea. So Indian exams are competitive. I didn't have that courage to give a year gap and prepare for it and sit for it. तो मैंने I chose the easier way. I studied DSA and tried to go to better companies. But yeah, I might not be the right person to answer that. You have to go to someone else to get that answered. But मतलब I didn't have the courage and scope to lose a year in my career. Basically मेरे पास पैसे नहीं थे, तो I had to go the easier way. So I prepared for interviews. That's it. But if you are motivated about higher education, if you want to get into IITs, because IIT tag do matter, and if you want to do graduate, and if you don't have that monetary limitation, feel free to do that, and I would encourage you to do that. That helps in the long run. Even if you're going for foreign jobs and all, that helps a lot.
Any more questions, guys? Can you highlight more about your journey? What efforts, thoughts made your way to Google?
Yeah,
They've
see,
already
Google is
shared.
just part of the. Yeah, to answer this, don't think Google is heaven. Google was just part of the journey. By the way, Google is heaven if you think about the perks and all. But other than that, from a company or working perspective, right? So it's not only Google that have cracked or worked in, right? I've cracked Swiggy, Amazon, Google, Goldman Sachs. Then there are some startups like Unicard and JustPay and all of this, right? This is something that doesn't show up in my profile, but I went through the interview process of each of these companies, and I did crack this. And in fact, जो आपको पता नहीं है कि I have interviewed with Amazon for 3 times. I failed the first 2, and I have cracked it in the 3rd attempt, which means, which you can understand, right? Like there have been tough times, and the only effort that I did is I remained honest to my efforts. I did not try to take any shortcuts, and I would suggest you to not take any shortcuts either. Shortcuts definitely won't help you in the long run, neither in the short run. Okay, so grind DSA, do as much as possible, put the maximum effort possible. There's no shortcut way. You have to put in that effort, and once you put that effort and you know you are in a good place, start applying. If your application doesn't work, seek referrals. People will give referral. I'll tell you why. Not because they know you, but because they will get money if they refer you, right? So money is important. So uh, if I refer you, right, at Google, and you crack the job and you join the company, in 3 months I'm going to get a hefty amount as part of my salary, right? And that's not small, that's a big amount. So that's the reason people will refer you, right? Now you have to choose the person very wisely. There are too many referral requests that goes to a person who works at top tech companies. So your resume has to stand out from those who are kind of your competitors, to be more specific. So out of the lot of people who are trying to ask for referrals, your resume must stand out. And that being said, if your resume does truly stand out, people will definitely give you a referral. Okay, so try making connections. That also helps. More questions?
Does the BTech background matter in big companies? Can someone from BCA get good offers?
Oh, by the way, my colleague, my closest colleague, has a BCA background. So that, I hope that answers your question.
That is enough.
You just need to have the skill, and you just need to have the intent. That's all. More questions, folks? All right, I think we are already past the time. I had some commitments at 8:30. Unfortunately, I'll have to drop off. But that doesn't stop you from reaching out to me offline. Feel free to ping me on LinkedIn if you have a very specific questions, or if I missed any as part of this session. Don't hesitate to ask for referrals. uh, i will I will refer you, because not because you know yeah, I mean, I have my own benefits, right, if I refer you. So that's what, don't hesitate. Don't self reject yourself before asking for referrals. See what the person sitting on the other side has to say, right? So if at any point in time you need me, just let me know. You're part of this college, and I'll help you out in the best way possible. All right. That would be it then. Any final words, Ayush, or is there anything that you want me
Thank
to
you,
say
भैया.
before?
For first of all, आने के लिए बहुत thank you so much for coming and attending this. It was so much of experience. We don't really 6 साल industry में cracking top notch companies. It was so much of experience we were getting. हम लोगों ने ऐसा enrichment actually नहीं मिलता है. Everyone says that do DSA, do DSA, do DSA, do development, do projects. But this level of detailing concept, going into detail, what is important, it was honest and it was so good. And baki, whatever the people asked you questions, you definitely asked it thoroughly. Moreover, this is the guide to placement E04, and bhaiya is there. You can go and talk to him, you can go and reach out to him, whatever problems you have, whatever you want to reach out. And yeah. Hmm. And yeah, I have just shared the Google form. If you want to have certificates of attending the session, you can fill it. It's just your wish. First, very excited about that. Okay, भैया आने के लिए thank you first of all, and future में if we have sessions like that, आप time निकाल पाए तो अच्छा होगा. बाकी referral we might get it from you, and ये हमें सबसे पहली बार पता चला है कि by referring you people get a lot of FT amounts. So उसके लिए भी we need to have a good resume. That's all that from my side, and thank you so much everyone for attending the session. And you can fill the Google form. And thank you Bhaiya for coming and taking out the important time. It's too long a time. And thank you so much. You can have some words in the final.
No, I'm good. But yeah, if I visit Kolkata anytime, I'll definitely would like to meet you up in person. But yeah, the problem is time. I don't have a lot of time once I visit Kolkata. But I'll see if we can meet up sometime offline. And then that being said, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions via LinkedIn. I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. Right, folks. Thank you so much for your patience, and
Thank you, Veer. Thank you so much for coming.
no worries. See you. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Guys, you can fill the Google form, and if you want attendance, yes, it was a too good a session. Also, we are planning mini sessions like that, not just placements. Like अभी placements का हो रहा है ना, तो I am looking out to I am reaching out someone who's cybersecurity में इनको interest हो. He's in the top school of cybersecurity, National College, and he's just got a very good cybersecurity role. So cybersecurity, be it machine learning, be it gate sessions, we are planning, we are trying. And yes, most importantly, in the month end, मेरा एक फ्रेंड था यूईएम का, he was my senior, and he got placed in a company in San Francisco recently. He was from UEM, हम senior. He just passed last year, and he just got placed in San Francisco. His domain was design, web designing, video editing, and all. So if you want to attend the session, you can. It will be offline, fortunately. So do attend that, and we are planning these sessions. The solution challenge is going. You want to participate? You should participate, and stay in touch. We'll have some amazing sessions like that. I'm reaching out to the beloved seniors of ours. I think how to join DGT team. The Alok, are you from IM? Just tell me. GDG, if you want to refer to, okay, UEM, you have your GDG UEM. You can join there. But yeah, I think you don't have the WhatsApp community link. I'm just pasting the WhatsApp community link in the description. You can join the community and you'll get to, okay, already joined. That's enough. That's enough. Nothing more required. I'm from Shaumya, the thing is, GDG की कोडिंग एक बार बनती है साल में. When the new lead is selected, the new lead will be selected. We will be selecting the new lead in almost August to September. Then वहाँ पे core team की formation होगी. You can join there. But yeah, there are not बहुत सारे perks मिलने वाले हैं तुमको GDG के core team में होने से. Just be a participant. Just actively attend the fruitful sessions. Yeah, make connections. Definitely. College. I was thinking to reach out to industry people from different field, but अरे अपने कॉलेज के लोग ही मुझे मिल रहे हैं, तो आई डोंट हैव टाइम टू गो फॉर मैं दूसरे लोगों के पास जाऊं. अपने कॉलेज के लोग ही इतने अच्छे एलुमनाई नेटवर्क है. वी बैश आवर कॉलेज अ लॉट. ये ऐसा कॉलेज है, ये कॉलेज है, बट व्हेन यू गो आउट इन लिंक्डइन यू गो टू सी. एंड मैंने रिसेंटली एक प्रोफाइल देखा, सी इज इन माइक्रोसॉफ्ट. सो माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, गूगल, अमेजन इतने दिखते रहता है ना, तो वी आर लाइक नहीं यार, अपना कॉलेज है ना, इट्स गुड, टू गुड ए कॉलेज, इट्स नॉट दैट बैड. Not commenting on the campus. Fine. How to join those sessions? Soumya, are you in the community? What's the community? That is enough. I should paste the link once. Okay, that's all. If you have questions, you can have and join. Okay, I'm pasting the link in the description. And also, if you want the certificates, you can fill the Google form. I am pasting the link here. You can join the WhatsApp community. You'll get all the updates, whatever we organize. Thank you. That's all from my side. कुछ नहीं पूछना है तो आप लीव कर सकते हैं. That's all. Thank you. इतने patience के लिए, and it was actually too good. Why my name is showing Rahul Dev? Fine. I'm ending it. Thank you so much. You can leave. So those who haven't yet joined the WhatsApp community, you can join through here. I pasted the link. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, my core team, for attending the session and being with me always. Thank you. That's all.